Happy Monday, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We have a lot to get into with the NBA, the NFL. There's been so much going on this past weekend, so we're going to have a lot to talk about. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. Here's the Fumble Squad. I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward.
What's up? Happy Monday. I'm Jackie Ray. You can follow me everywhere at JRay the Fanatic.
Hey, what's up, y'all? How you guys doing today? It's your girl, Britt Johnson. You guys can follow me on all social media at I am Britt Johnson. And happy college football playoff championship Monday, Ohio State versus Bama. Going to be a great game tonight. Let us know right in the comments who you guys have winning, Buckeyes or Roll Tide.
Roll Tide,
yes.
baby. Sorry.
No, Buckeyes!
Roll Tide, baby.
We're already split here. Come on, Jackie.
I know.
Come on, girl.
Another rivalry. You guys, I don't know if you guys are ever on the same side when it comes to teams. I don't think I've seen that happen a single time.
Back when we were children, when we were babies, back in the playground, me and Jackie used to be one and the same.
Not anymore. Not anymore. That's for sure.
The shade, not anymore.
Okay, so you guys, this was a big weekend. NFL wildcard weekend had a lot of highlights. Jackie's going to be getting into that in the post-up for us. But Jackie, I know that your Saints had a huge win over the Bears. Tell me what that was like for you watching that. Did you? I'm sure you watched the whole thing.
Yes, from start to finish. First and foremost, though, the weirdest thing, though, is still them running out of the tunnel with this big explosion for like 10 fans, what feels like. That's still going to be super weird to me forever and a day. But very excited about this situation. Michael Thomas got his first touchdown in like 385 days.
Finally.
So congratulations to him. It was good to see
Welcome
that.
back.
You know, it was good to yes, because I was like, where you been, my guy? Everyone looked good. Everyone looked like they were on point. So I was super excited about that. That went exactly the way that I thought, which is good because a lot of the games did not. I do want to shout out Washington, though. Tyler, what's his name, Hinkle or whatever? My guy did the damn thing.
Wait, that boy played.
My guy. I was like, all right, I see you. Washington should be really, really proud of that situation, regardless of them losing. But, yes, this whole weekend was just dope. Who Dat Nation? Super excited for us. We did the damn thing. But, yeah, this whole weekend was dope.
Nice. And then, Britt, how was your weekend? What did you get up to? I'm sure you were watching football as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much just laid in bed all weekend and watched football. It was great football to watch. And the super wild card weekend, just adding those 2 extra games literally makes all the difference. It was great. It was so much more entertaining. It seemed so much more competitive. It was a great weekend, and it's weird. I don't know if it's just COVID or whatever it was, but how it kind of trickled down to this moment. But everybody just seemed like they were gunning for that Super Bowl spot. Everybody seemed like they were coming to play and ready to play. It was great. It was great football to watch because, you know, me and Jackie talked about it a lot at the beginning of the season. We did not see a lot of great football. So to be in this moment now, we're seeing some great football, and I'm excited. I'm excited for next weekend as well. I think it's going to be even better.
Yeah, it's been a vast improvement from the start of the season. So we're going to be talking more about NFL updates in the post-up. Jackie's going to fill you in. But first, we have to talk about the NBA because they have a COVID problem. So there have been multiple games that have been postponed. Sunday's game between the Celtics and the Heat was postponed due to COVID-19. The Heat didn't have enough players due to contact tracing after someone had an inconclusive COVID-19 test. The Celtics had 9 players listed as out, 7 of them due to the NBA's protocols. And then Woj tweeted this morning that the Mavericks shut down their facility after COVID issues. They don't have the 8 eligible players, so they can't play against the Pelicans. Celtics and Bulls on Tuesday has also been postponed. There was one other game that was postponed as well, 4 total. So it's just been crazy, and I think that we kind of knew that COVID would be an issue, just because it is so prevalent right now. Cases are at the highest that they've ever been in the U.S., but the NBA still has no plans to pause the season, or it doesn't even seem like they're considering a bubble. It would probably just be too difficult with so many teams right now. They do have a lower percentage than like the nationwide percentage of COVID cases, so I guess that's a good thing, but still, the fact that there have been so many postponed games is crazy. Executives and coaches are frustrated that the competitive balance is being compromised. They're not able to just get as much time together to build camaraderie and to build chemistry. Even something as simple as a shoot around is not really able to happen anymore because they have to wait 60 to 90 minutes for their test results to come back. So it's really compromising a lot about the NBA. So let's just discuss this. The biggest questions that I'd like for us to address are, can this be handled? Should they consider a bubble? And how is this going to affect, the validity of teams and how we look at them when their stars are sitting out? So, Britt, let's talk to you first. What are your thoughts about these games being postponed, and what do you think the next steps need to be for the league?
Okay, first I want to address the NFL in this, because we gave the NFL so much negative flack for not seeming prepared and not knowing what they were doing. And they started their season back in September, or technically August, with a little bit of those couple preseason games that they had. NBA, you guys voted, you guys decided on what you guys were going to do. You guys had literally almost a year, and you guys still seem confused about what's happening in these moments. You still seem to not have it under control. And we gave you guys all the applause because you guys did so well with the bubble. But if you are going to then go into another season and already have these problems starting off, it's what was the bubble then? The bubble didn't mean anything if you guys didn't use that time to really learn and figure out what you guys are going to do going into a season. Because really now you guys just look like exactly like the NFL season did this last year. So it is kind of weird to see that the NBA had so much time to start a second season. We all know the NHL has not started their season yet because they're trying to figure out what they're going to do now that they're not doing their situation. And maybe the NBA started too prematurely because they were so money hungry to get a season going. But now, and we talked about, players as competitive early on because they're coming off, a short season, a short off season. But now we get to this point, and it's not the last that is causing these players to not be competitive. It's they can't even play the darn game because of COVID. And all you need to play a game, they were going to play games if 8 players that were eligible to play. All you need to play the game is 8 eligible players. So for these games to be postponed and canceled, that's more than half, or a little less than half of their team is out and can't play because of COVID. So that's kind of crazy. That's if you're looking at the percentages of it, that's a huge number. And if yes, they'd have 10, 15 players or whatever on very few occasions. Usually it was just kind of a couple player situation. We all talked about that game with the Denver Broncos when they had no quarterbacks playing in that situation. That's 4 guys, 3 guys, or whatever the case is, depending on if you want to count your practice squad guy as counting. But this situation is literally, that's half their team. So
right.
If you look at the percentages, yes, compared to the world, it's way less. But if you look at it compared to what the NFL was canceling their games for, it's way more. They're literally having half of their team not eligible to play, and that is a huge deal. So and NBA is not as much of a contact sport as football is. So that is a big thing to say that. But I think it's crazy that the NBA doesn't have this more, I don't know, figured out. I just gave them so much applause last year because they just seemed, the bubble was pretty smooth, considering the little, humps we'd have of players, talking to the COVID people. Sorry, house, but I had to call you out on that one. But I don't know. It's just crazy. It's unfortunate to see because I really was talking about how great the NBA was doing, and now they just look like the NFL, but kind of even worse. What was the point of starting a season if we can't have these games? And what's going to happen towards the end of the season? Are these games going to be replayed? Because this is even harder because NBA players play 3 to 4 games a week. So now you want them to add in another game on a week where they literally were already playing 4 games at a 5th game that week because they had to cancel a game that they had the week before. Like it's just like, it seems like, yes, it seems small right now, but it looks like it's going to be a huge mess. It looks like it's going to turn out to be.
I think the one thing that we can take away from this is that we really can't control COVID unless we're in a bubble. And like the bubble worked because they had no exposure to the outside. But now with everybody playing, you know, in their own practice facilities, in their own cities, they're able to kind of go out and do whatever. We saw James Harden partying in Vegas. Like the risk of exposure is just so great. And like it's really almost impossible. It is impossible to have a fully healthy season without anybody contracting this widespread virus, which is, it's really scary to think about. But yeah, I mean, I think the effects of this are going to be pretty far reaching. Jackie, what I want to talk to you about is, you know, how this might make the playing field no longer as level as we'd like it to be. Like, for example, with the Celtics, if they have Jayson Tatum out and they're going up against a team like, you know, say the Lakers, and they're fully healthy, is that unfair? And how do you kind of counteract that?
It's difficult for me to say that it's unfair because, you know, Britt hit the nail on the head, though. The NBA should have thought about this. They had a flawless execution in the bubble. During the bubble, somebody should be sitting down and saying, hey, we can't continue this bubble in the regular season. What can we do during the regular season to make this make sense? Because if we don't, you know, we're going to end up seeing an influx of cases. You know, the NFL didn't really, they could just sit back and watch the NBA because their season hadn't even really started yet, you know, so they could kind of come up with a plan of their own. So the NBA really, they did start a little too soon because they wanted to make up for the revenue that they lost when they went into that shutdown. It was all about a money grab. But now I can't, like I said, it's difficult for me to say that it's an unfair advantage because I still fall back to, and keep in mind, I am not, you are absolutely right. It's difficult. I've gone from not knowing, only knowing one person who had COVID to knowing 6 people in the last week who tested positive for COVID. So yeah. It's definitely a thing. And these are people that literally just go to the store so they can get out the house because they're literally just doing what they're supposed to do. These are not people that are going to strip clubs or having parties in their backyards or everything the NBA players have at their disposal. These are people that are doing what they're supposed to do. So I understand that you could literally do everything right and still get it. But at the same time, I think that when you are a NBA player, you have a couple of things at your disposal that the rest of us do not have. You can quarantine in a big ass mansion that has a bowling alley or something in it, and you can just, you can self-quarantine in a way that doesn't drive you as crazy as it would drive you and I. So the main goal should be to stay healthy. On the flip side, we saw a situation, what was it, last week, where Seth got it, you know, and he was on the court mingling with other players before they found out that he had it. So those players aren't in the wrong for if they contract it now because they were out there doing what they were supposed to do. The NBA literally has put themselves in an impossible situation. And it's across the board. There's going to be some teams like the Steelers we saw in the NFL who managed to go the whole time without a case. There's going to be teams that think they're doing everything right, and they're going to get a bunch of cases. So I don't know. Everyone's on the same playing field, though. We're all susceptible to COVID. It's literally how you take care of yourself. And if the NBA is not going to step in and say, hey, this is what we need every team to do, I would highly suggest every team on a team basis set protocols outside of the ones that the NBA has already set to make sure that they have who they need on that court. Because you're right. Like if all of a sudden KCP, LeBron James, and AD can't play, and then we're going up a fully healthy Clippers, no, that's not athletically fair, but it's the time we live in, and if they manage to stay healthy and we didn't, that's totally fair in my opinion, you know. So it's going to be a situation where every team is going to have to do things outside of what's already in place from the NBA to make sure that they can stay healthy, and that's 100% on them.
Mm-hmm. And to your point, Jackie, with that you made with the Steelers, the Steelers never had any cases the whole season, but did not suffer the most because of COVID, because other teams were testing positive. So they have a healthy team ready to go, but all of these other teams are getting COVID and they cancel their games and have to have those short weeks where they have, like with the NBA could happen, teams are playing 5 games in a week because another team had COVID play, and now their schedule's all messed up because of it. So this could like actually end up affecting a team that's doing everything right, everything that they're supposed to, no positive tests at all, and they could actually negatively affect that team the most, just like it happened in with the Steelers this season. Like that was crazy.
Right.
Yeah. It's very true, you guys. I'm going to jump into our next need to know news update so we can get through this one really quickly. This is all about Draymond Green and how he got heated in a post-game interview. He ranted about people just not understanding the game of basketball. In regards to defense being appreciated just as much as highlights on offense, Draymond said that would require people to know the game of basketball, and most people don't. Most people will never learn the game of basketball. They think they do, but have no clue. I enjoy being one of the not so many people that actually know the game and being in that rare category of people who really knows what's going on. He is often looked at as like somebody with very high basketball IQ, but he was very heated when he answered that question. So let's discuss the same question for both of you. And Jackie, I'll start with you. Do you feel Draymond is right when he says this? Do you understand where he's coming from?
Absolutely. Y'all know I used to play defense in high school. I used to be out there getting it done. Didn't nobody saw what I did. Everybody saw what Janaea Shadone did, making that 3-point at the buzzer. All that work that I put in to make sure she could get that 3, nobody saw it. So he is 100% right on this. And it does speak to some of that, though, is just your natural eye. If you have never played basketball, or if you've never been watching it from birth, like a lot of us have, or it's not your job, your eye focus is on the star player or who has the ball. You don't see that screen coming up. You probably don't even know what an illegal screen is. You probably don't even fully understand a pick and roll and things of that nature. But it's the way, and that game moves so fast. I think it is a little easier sometimes in other sports to kind of break it down. That game moves so fast that maybe you're only conditioned to watch the star player. But he's absolutely right. You know, I've seen Draymond specifically do some things that I was like, okay, Draymond, I see you. But then the commentators, when we see the replay, it's all about, you know, the score that just happened. It's rarely a Draymond highlight. He's 100% right in that. I think he kind of showed his ego a little bit in his rant and the anger in his rant. Like, he's like, yo, I be out here working. Can I get a highlight? You have to kind of go to YouTube and put his name in to see his highlights. But then even those highlights, if you go to YouTube right now and put in a Draymond highlights, you're going to get more of his scoring highlights than his dope defensive highlights, just because that's the nature of the game. People want to see. You ain't never heard about Steph playing defense, and you're never going to really see that because that's not what he's known for, you know. And if he does play defense, I shout it out because that's not really his thing. But Draymond is absolutely correct in this assessment. He's absolutely right as a person who's been on the receiving end of that and come out bruised and all sweaty and feel like I can barely walk and I'm not getting one accolade. I totally feel where he's coming from. He's absolutely right.
Yeah, totally. And then Britt, what's your response or reaction to what Draymond had to say?
One of my favorite quotes, offense sells tickets, defense wins games. And it is exactly what Jackie was talking about. The fan, most people, they're going to look at the offense and they're going to be excited by the glitz and glam of like the deep 3 from Steph or from Dame Lillard or whatever. And that's what sells the tickets. Like, that sells the tickets. But the defense is really what's going to win the game. And that is true on honestly almost every single sport you can think of. Obviously, football, you get more of people do recognize, oh, that was a great block by so-and-so to get, a hole open so Zeke could go through. Like, people notice that in football, but football is a little more slower paced. They line up after every single play, so you can really take a moment and sit and like dissect what just happened in that play. Basketball is back and forth, and you're doing offense and defense at the same time, all the time. on both sides of the ball. So I definitely think that there's obviously truth to that. Draymond, we've talked about him, being a defensive player of the year. And even still, like we talked about it last week, like his points are terrible right now. He's not scoring. He's not doing that part of the game or whatever. And with Clay missing, it's being noticed now because people didn't notice it before because he wasn't needed to make any shots or whatever. But you can't ever take away from, that's why Draymond is still on the team and he's still playing, because his defense, his defense has lacked since a couple years ago. I would still say it's not what it used to be, but he's still a good defender, and you can't take that away from him. And most defenders, you're not noticed. A lot of times we don't talk about, like, even the bigger guys in the league for getting rebounds or getting blocks or whatever. It's an era of the shooter, and that's just what it is right now. And I think that's kind of just, it's the selling of the ticket, but anybody that does know basketball, like you said, or plays basketball or whatever, they know the defense is what really actually wins the game.
And they even look at the commentators too. Like when you're talking about football, they'll take a break and be like, watch this block. And then you'll see the little yellow circle come in and the arrow pointing to where it's going. Where Van Gundy is talking about his new lawnmower, in between plays. Like you just don't get the commentators really giving you the time. But I think with the NFL, I think a lot of people can learn, even if you're new to football, you can learn so much from the commentators, and you can see the other side of the ball, and you kind of know where to lend your eyesight because the commentators do such a good job. Versus in the NBA, we know a lot more about their personal lives than we do sometimes about what's going on the court. So.
Right. During the break, they'll be like, yeah, do you guys see Aisha on the sideline with the kids? Not this one that just had a day yesterday. And But like, everybody who knows anything about football, if you just watch a football game, you're going to hear Aaron Donald's name being brought up and his defense. You're going to even hear that, even if it's not a game that he's in half the time. You're going to hear Bobby Wagner. You're going to Patrick Peterson back in the day. Like, you're going to hear these guys, defenders, and you know them by name because it's honestly so that Aaron Donald actually said it best this last week. He said, if we can score or we can hold them on defense, so all our offense has to do is score. If they can score a little bit, we're going to win the game. And I mean, sorry, Russell Wilson, but their defense outdid your guys' defense in that moment. That was that game me and Jackie talked about it on the Weekend Zone. That game was a defensive game. Whoever's defense came through during that Rams and Seahawks game, that's going to be who won the game. And the Rams defense did it,
Yep.
There was one chat in here that I wanted to read really quickly. Now I lost it, of course. Mamba says, does Draymond need to score more than ever? Yes, but he doesn't need to be a second option or anything wild like that. His defense and playmaking is what's valuable. And I think you guys are absolutely right on everything that you both said. He is still making significant contributions on the court, even if he isn't putting up the same numbers that he maybe should or once did. So on that note, let's wrap up Need to Know News. Jackie, give us the NFL updates in the post-up.
Man, that's a perfect segue into this post-up because I have been seeing y'all talk about this in the chat already. I feel some type of way about it because y'all are just coming from my boy Juju, and I feel some type of way about it. So let's get into this post-up super wild card weekend edition because this was a great weekend. I hope you guys had some time to just sit around and watch these games because like Britt said, this is some of the best football we've seen all season. It was fantastic. But let's get into the inevitable because I already see y'all was ready for it. Last Friday, Britt talked about it. She thought maybe Juju was being a little too cocky and that was going to cost the Steelers the game. Even though the Steelers had lost to the Bills, the Bengals, and the week before they lost to the Browns. They lost to the Browns the week before because they didn't take that game seriously. I feel like they probably should have taken that game a little bit more seriously, got a little bit more reps in, so they could have done that. Now, we all know the embarrassing loss, but let me just say this. This ain't even in my notes. Let me just say this. We just talked all about defense, okay? defense. The Browns scored 28 points in the first quarter, setting a record. There was no defense. In the first quarter, they had 28 points. Within 5 minutes, they had scored and got an interception. There was no adjustments made, but whatever. Y'all gonna blame this all on Juju. I know you are, so let's get into this first trolling of my boy. He actually said this at the beginning of the game, and I'm not mad at this. He said, I think they're still the same Browns team I played every year. They have a couple of good players on the team, but at the end of the day, the Browns is the Browns. Now, you probably saw at the end of the game, all the Browns were saying that Browns is the Browns. Now you know where that came from, but we could just rapid fire all of these trolls y'all did to Juju, because it started with the Browns themselves on the sidelines. They just already started that Corvette dance. And none of us really know what that song is. All of us just know it as Corvette. But let's take a look at the Browns on the sidelines.
Had one and they use it. And the dance.
Now look at the score, though. It's 48-37. 1 minute left. They already know. Y'all ain't about to get 11 points in a minute and 4 seconds. Let's start this Corvette dance. And then it just got worse in the locker room. Take a look.
What you say, Juice? Corvette,
It's the laugh for me. It's the laugh for me.
It's so good.
So, I get it, though. Britt said this was going to happen, so y'all just put that hash mark into the Britt was right column. She said this would happen, and it did. Now we got one more tweet that I want you guys to see, because this is actually a good one, because Jarvis Landry said nobody believed in us but us, and that is the lesson for the day, kids. If nobody believe in you, but you and your squad believe in you, y'all can get it done, and that's exactly what the Browns did. But let me again, this is not Juju's fault. I have to double down on that, because did y'all see? Okay, so the Steelers have one of the best pass rushing defenses in the league. The Browns were smart. They were like, we can counteract that by just making sure Baker gets the ball off quick. You saw that in the first possession. They scored really quick off top, but there was no adjustments made. The defensive coordinator, Keith Butler, he didn't make not one adjustment. Mike Tomlin didn't go over there and tell him to make an adjustment. They just had this mindset of, we can't do that the whole time. Yes, he can. He can. And Big Ben threw 4 interceptions yesterday. This had nothing to do with Juju. Juju had actually 151 receiving yards. He had more receiving yards than anybody on the Browns. This was not Juju's fault, so I am not mad at him on doubling down on what he said after the game. He said, quote, I don't regret saying what I said. They came out. Today wasn't our night. Hopefully the same Browns show up. Huh?
He's never going to learn.
Right, wait.
I know.
I agree. He said, I don't regret saying what I said. They came out. Today wasn't our night. Hopefully the same Browns show up against the next opponent and they do what they did tonight and have a great game. And I think that's the point, right? Y'all might have started this Corvette too soon, because y'all got the Chiefs next. And I agree with this sentiment. Brett, you were about to say something. What were you going to say?
Sorry, I actually thought I was muted when I was like, it's never going to. I was like, I didn't even know it hurt me.
Ooh, whoops.
But I talked about it today. Juju, you can't just wait till after the game and you can talk. Browns could talk. Them doing and making fun of Juju and doing their little TikTok dances and doing the Browns is the Browns or whatever. That was great, because they're doing that to the Steelers. They're taunting the Steelers. They're not now taunting the Chiefs or saying anything about the Chiefs, talking about and getting excited about their game, which they should. I mean, we talked about how long it's been since the Browns have even made the playoffs, let alone won a playoff game. So it's amazing. Shout out also to the Bills, who it's 26 years, 1995, since they won a champion or a playoff game as well. So shout out to Bills. I guess it was the week at Og. But Juju, that yapping and that Harlem shaking, dancing, whatever you doing, it's just it don't work. It don't work. And the superstitious and who, I bet you guys don't even know what the Harlem Shake is. I am sorry. I am just aging myself in this moment. No, and the 12-year-olds on here don't know what the Harlem Shake is.
You were saying me and Jackie didn't.
Y'all need to start. Can we start a TikTok? Y'all in the fans, whatever that do TikTok, do a Harlem Shake TikTok and say it's the Brit challenge.
There you go. I like that. All right, but you know who I really feel bad for in this situation, and I know I'm probably the only one, is Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger is 38 years old, y'all. He threw the ball over 68 times. I think it was like 69, 76, over 68 times, though. Like I said, he threw for 4 interceptions. But Ben Roethlisberger has not had the same career as, say, a Tom Brady, who they basically need you to put down a posturpedic bed and lay him down on it if you're going to tackle him. Big Ben, they will let the whole team pile up on Big Ben and let him drag them for 2 yards before they blow the whistle on him, because he is Big Ben. So he was on the sideline and he had a moment, and it's just a little hurtful to me. So let's take a look at Big Ben's reaction on the sideline.
This is a few moments ago after the game. Ben Roethlisberger and his center.
He's literally crying.
And a tear coming down the eye of.
This is too much. It's too much for me. I don't like to see Big Ben crying like this. It was an embarrassing game. Like I said, they didn't make any adjustments. Not only did they not make adjustments in the first quarter, they didn't go into the half and make any adjustments. Big Ben got behind, and then he started making stupid mistakes. There was literally one play where he threw it right to the Browns, and I'm like, okay, what the hell was that? But yeah, this is over, and I'm glad it's over, because now we can finish this Corvette. Does anybody know what that song is? I'm sure y'all know that in the chat. Y'all don't know the Harlem Shake, but I know y'all know Corvette. Who sings that in all action?
All over. Nobody knows who sings it. People just know the hopping on the jet like that. Yeah.
What is that? What?
Like that.
What? Is that the bop? What is happening here? Y'all just shake. Bring it back.
Corvette.
Right. Big Ben is a 2-time Super Bowl champ. Like, who cares? He already won one. It's not like he's ending his career never winning a Super Bowl. He's won 2 of them. Who cares?
He
had 4 interceptions. Marquise Pouncey, the guy next to him, his center, he can cry because he's like, man, dude, I was protecting you the best I could. I'm doing what I can, and you still have 4 interceptions, and you caused us to lose the game. Marquise can cry. Big Ben, I don't want to see those little tears.
I think the reason why Big Ben is crying is because he's been, throwing around the idea of, it was the defense's fault too. Let me tell you something. You don't score 28 points in the first quarter if your defense is doing what they're supposed to do. That just doesn't happen. But at the same time, I think Ben's been throwing around this idea of retirement, and this is not the game you want to go out on. After the game, he did say, if he wants to come back, he hopes the Steelers will have him. So we'll have to figure that out. But let's move on to this next one, and everybody put your hands together and give a round of applause to Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, because while Juju got all y'all talking, Juju got all y'all talking, Lamar shut all of y'all up. All y'all naysayers that said he wasn't going to win a playoff game, he shut y'all up, and it is so fitting that it was against the Titans, because last year they lost to the Titans 28-12, and it looked like they were heading on that same road, because that game, my neighbors, I am so sorry to y'all, because I was loud and rambunctious. You would have thought the Saints was playing, because they started 0-10. But instead of kind of sitting in that and letting all the naysayers get into his ear, he went out there, and Lamar Jackson, he threw for 179 yards. He rushed for 136 yards, and the Ravens got the win 20-13. But look, once the game got the seal, the Ravens did this. And let me just tell y'all right now, I saw y'all earlier in the chat, some of y'all saying don't disrespect the logo. This disrespect right here, I'm a fan of. Check this out.
2nd and 5. Tannehill steps and fires, and it's intercepted.
Interception.
It's Marcus Peters who makes the play for the Ravens. The ball was tipped at the
now watch.
line.
Let's all go out as a crew. Let's go out as a crew.
It's Peters who makes the big defensive play for the Ravens.
No Corey Davis.
I love all of that. Now, I know a lot of y'all don't like that, but if you guys are following us on Instagram, which you should be at the Fumble Sports, y'all know I posted the picture where the Titans did the exact same thing to the Ravens in Week 11, but they took it one level higher. They disrespected their coach. There was a whole thing. So then after the game was done, Lamar Jackson was like, come on, y'all. He ran off and he stopped, turned around and got the crew. No, I said, come on, y'all. Like, we all going. We ain't shaking their hands. We are running off. And I love that because, again, y'all disrespected us in Week 11. So he actually, a lot of y'all must have forgot. Y'all had a short-term memory and y'all just kind of focused on the fact that he ran off and didn't shake hands. This isn't a Tom Brady, I'm mad that you, because there's nothing to be mad about, right? This isn't a Tom Brady situation. Lamar Jackson addressed it. I already knew what it was, but he said, quote, we didn't see what went on before the game the last time, and that was the last time they stood on their logo. He said, but later we saw they were standing on our logo and getting into it with our coach. That was disrespectful because we treat all our opponents with respect. There wasn't any reason for us to shake hands. So there we go. I love this. Y'all know I'm petty, though. I would have stepped on that logo either way. So, Britt, I'm going to go to you. How do you feel about this logo thing?
Well, I'm usually not for the bad sportsmanship and whatever the case is. In this moment, I do understand it, especially to go out with get that interception where they had a chance to tie the game in that moment and get that interception to now seal the win for your team. It's a huge moment. You guys are going crazy. And then obviously you think back to the moment when they disrespected you. And then you think back to the moment last year after the Titans, who nobody thought was going to even make it that far in the playoffs, beat the Ravens to go on and play the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Nobody thought that was going to happen. Nobody thought they were going to go into the situation to beat anybody, even in the wild card round. So I get the moment. I get the energy that they had in that moment to go crazy. I get all the crap that was talked about Lamar Jackson after last season when he did not make it again to a Super Bowl and lost that game. And everybody was like, okay, Lamar Jackson maybe shouldn't have been NFL MVP and all this crazy stuff that they were talking about him. And he went in this season with a grudge. I remember that day like it was yesterday, the day where he was like, okay, I'll be back next year. That's exactly what he said. I'll be back next year. He was like, y'all can talk. He wasn't making excuses for anything. He didn't say anything to anybody. He just said, I'll be back next year. And I'm going to work harder next year, And that was that moment for him. And that was that moment for that team because that's the leader of their team. So I get it. I would have still shook hands just because I would have been like the bigger person in the situation. But I also am not going to say it was bad that they didn't shake hands in this moment just because of what the Titans and their rivalry with each other and then what happened earlier on this year and what happened last year.
Yeah, I was all for that. So congratulations again, Lamar Jackson. I'm very, very proud of you. This next one, however, is very, very bittersweet for me because obviously being from LA, I want the hometown to win. But you guys, if you don't know, you should know, I love me some Russell Wilson. I love him to death. He definitely outperformed Jared Goff, but it didn't matter because it's a team sport. If you haven't noticed, we've been talking about that. The Rams did pull out the win 30-20, and here we are again. Britt says this. Wait till after the game to talk trash. James Adams did not do that. Listen to his little sideline rant.
That's championship football, dog. That's championship football, dog. I believe some of those analysts said it was going to be tough. It was going to be tough for us to beat them. I remember that. I watched it this morning with my orange juice and toast. I watched it this morning with my orange juice and toast. I need my hat and shirt. You hear me? Hey, where my cigar at? I need my hat and shirt. I need my cigar now. I need my hat and shirt.
Oh, God, not the cigar, too. First of all, this is the sideline cameraman's fault. This was a private conversation. You didn't have to put me out on blast like that. Now everybody knows I was celebrating too early. But like Britt said, maybe I like the sideline trash talk. You got to hype each other up. But, now that we caught it, he's a little premature. So sorry for you, James Adams. But let's move on to this next one.
How's that orange juice and toast now? How's that orange juice and toast now?
He's He's gonna switch up to cereal next year. He's like cereal.
We'll have it next weekend, but no game after. So
look, and
cheers,
sips her tea with the petty shade. She's like, how's that going? All right, you guys, I got a riddle. What is dumber than storming the Capitol and getting mad that you get maced in the face? May I present to you Bills fans? Check out this clip.
There we go!
What's the point?
That's not how I would celebrate. Just
Bills Mafia.
That's Bills Mafia. For those of you guys who don't know, it's just not smart mafia is what I'm calling them from now on, because that is ridiculous. But we're gonna move on for that, because I just don't want to give stupid that much time. But look, you guys, his name is the Claw. Can we please get over how big Kawhi Leonard's hands are? Bleacher Report posted this to their Twitter, and they're like, "Oh my God, look at his hands," because he's holding 2 bottles in his hands. That's not what we should be obsessing about right now when it comes to Kawhi. We should be obsessing about the fact that his cornrows are still clean. We should be obsessing about the fact that it looks like
do-rag.
Yes. I ain't seen him with chapped lips yet this season. He's taking up chapstick. That's what we should be obsessing about, not the hands. He's the Claw, for God's sakes. And this user says that if you're over 6 feet, then apparently you'll be able to do it. This looks a little different than Kawhi, though. He looks like he's struggling. Kawhi does not look like he's struggling. No. So, that's not exactly the same.
Kawhi's is like in between his fingers more.
Right.
Like this guy's using his whole hand.
He's like, ugh. And it's about to like somebody's probably on the bottom.
And his fingers bent.
Got him on the table. Like you ain't fooling nobody, my guy. That is not the same. But good try. Good try.
This makes me want to try it. Seeing these pictures, I want to go and grab 2 water bottles and see if my hands
I'm
can
gonna
do
try it
it.
after, because I'm 5'11".
Me
Is this the Kawhi Leonard challenge?
Right. Yeah.
The
Let's
Kawhi
do it and
Leonard
post it to our
challenge.
Instagram. Let's all do
I'm
it
down.
and post it to the Instagram after, and we'll see.
I don't
We'll
have
see.
any water bottles.
I don't either, but I'm gonna get some for
These
this
cups.
challenge. All right, you guys. So now look, despite all the hate LeBron James gets, I love that he always takes a moment to kind of give a head nod no matter what sport. He always gives a head nod to people, and he just gave another head nod to someone who passed his record, and I love this. Now, y'all know Leangelo broke his record, but the thing is Baby Goat had broke it before. So he broke his older brother as well. So he got it in 19 years and 140 days. And LeBron James shouted him out and said, "Tough Mellow, congrats, little bro." And I love that. I love the lack of haterism that LeBron James has. If you can rock with it, he's going to praise you for it. And I love it. So look, we talked about this earlier. COVID is running rampant. Y'all need to just accept that. The NBA probably should have accepted it sooner, so they could do something about it, because we talked about this earlier and how thin the rosters were for the Celtics and the 76ers. The 76ers had to play with 7 players. On top of that, Dwight Howard had to play point guard, which, okay, that's crazy to me. But if that doesn't sound weird to you, maybe it'll look weird to you. If you didn't see the 76ers running out before the game and think that's kind of odd, you probably will now, because take a look at this.
And now taking the court, your Philadelphia 76ers.
That's embarrassing. That looks like
Danny Green is so hyped.
Right? Danny Green's like, "Hey, you got it. Whether I missed this 3 or not, I got it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not really kidding, but you know what I'm saying." It's just embarrassing to see that. But one of the things I have missed with this whole COVID situation is the fans in the stands. So aside from only 7 people running out, we also have no fans in the stands that these people are running out for. That's a little weird to me. I miss Drake on the sideline, though. I do. His antics are over the top, and I miss it. But Steve Kerr lets us know about a time that he was fined, and I am totally here for it. Take a listen.
I do have a Drake story for you. I don't even know if this is public, but years ago, Steph and Draymond, we had a home game, and we were flying to LA after our home game, and we all got to the airport, and Steph and Draymond weren't on the plane at the departure time, and Eric Hausen, our travel man, called Steph to see what was going on, and Steph said, "Oh, my fault. I'm with Drake and Draymond. We're at the arena still. We're sorry we're late." And we had a team rule at the time that you could bring a friend on the plane, a couple times a year. And unbeknownst to me, Steph decided to use one of his slots for Drake. So Drake got on the plane that night with Draymond and Steph, and I fined all three of them for being late. And Drake paid his $500 fine. You can ask him that. True story.
I actually really love that. That's so Drake though. He seems like he'd be a good sport. Like, okay, coach, $500, I'll pay the $500. It's so Drake. I don't know. He probably had it in his pocket though. It wasn't even like he had to go to the ATM or nothing. He was like, oh, here you go. He probably had it like that. But I love that story. I can't wait till we get back to basketball and can just see some normalcy. I don't know if we're going to see little Cannon Curry out there anytime soon, because little Cannon Curry is out there trying to pick up his daddy skills. By the looks of it, because I'm used to that kid, I can't even remember his name, that's dunking on his brother that's at least 5 years older than him. And I'm thinking little Cannon Curry might need to take up tennis, but take a look and see.
Oh,
It's cute though. He's trying so hard. And Mama's over there encouraging him. You can't really hear it, but she's encouraging him all that she can. But yeah, no, he got no handles. The little chest bump ain't even right. But okay, he ain't got no handles yet though. But he's still super young. But I think I might be wrong, because he does already know the terminology. So he might be up next after his daddy. Take a look.
Euro step.
What'd you say, buddy?
Euro step.
Euro step.
That is adorable. I love that, Devin. I could hear you enjoying it, Devin, but I still got to go to Britt. Did we succeed in the baby fever this week off top on a Monday? Did that help at all? Yeah, see, Britt's like me. That he ain't got no handles. He's not cute.
Little ball baby, little baller.
You like, yeah, no baby
I wish
fever.
I wish he was a little bit taller. I wish he was a baller.
I knew it.
okay. Well,
Got
Jackie,
Devin,
you
though.
were successful. Oh, what?
He got you though.
I was gonna say-
over there. Aw.
Yes, because you know what? This reminds me of whenever I babysit my nephew. He's 3 years old, and they have one of those little kid basketball hoops in their living room, and so we'll play together sometimes. And I like to take the ball and just dunk, which is obviously easy to me because it comes up to my waist. I'm kind of savage towards my little baby nephew, but it's cute. He's tries so hard.
Try so hard, but yeah, that's not pulling at my heartstrings. You better get them handles together, little guy. But that's just how I am. All right, you guys, before we get out of here, let's really quickly get into what we not gonna do, because this one is actually, we're gonna be pretty quick on this one, but I'm hoping you guys will agree with me, because we talked about this before, and I think we'll talk about it a little bit more until Deshaun Watson and the Texans actually have a conversation. But we already know Deshaun Watson. Britt talked about it last week. He was leading the league in passing yards with 4,823. That was just first. That was before Patrick Mahomes. He's completing more than 70% of his passes, and he has 33 touchdowns on the season. He was sixth in rushing yards with 444 yards. Fun fact, though, Lamar Jackson is first with 1,005, and that was before yesterday's game. So shout out to Lamar Jackson. Only Colin Kaepernick is the only other person who had more rushing yards in playoffs. So shouts out to him. But back to Deshaun, because he's doing all of that. He's got the number one passing, completing 70% of his passes, and the Houston only finished 4-12. And the reason they were not dead last in the AFC South is because Jacksonville has the worst record in the league at 1-5, but they literally are one of the worst records in the league because they only won 3 more than the worst team in the league. And it's just confusing when you think about that, when you think about how dope Deshaun Watson is and all the things that he got done on the field. It just doesn't make sense, especially from a financial standpoint, because the Texans just gave him $156 million over 4 years. There is no trade clause in that. Now, Deshaun Watson obviously can try to waive that, and he can get around that trade clause. And the rumors, of course, I'm sure you guys all heard the rumors this weekend, is that he wants to do that and potentially go to the Miami Dolphins. And one of the reasons for that is because he is saying that Houston is not savvy when it comes to social initiatives. They don't line up with his views as far as social change and pushing the needle. And I totally understand that. And Chris Mortensen, he is reporting that sources say that he could play hardball. Deshaun Watson could play hardball, and that he would consider a trade to the Miami Dolphins in which Tua would be traded to Houston with obviously additional compensation. He also says that those trade rumors are accurate, and so sources close to Deshaun say he is still angry about the team's insensitivity to social justice, including their hiring practices. And we talked about that last week after the franchise failed to interview Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy last week. So I get that. Say what you want, but I think that's perfectly fine. I think a black man that wants to work for an organization that shares his vision is dope. Both Britt and I were huge fans of Miami after I posted this picture on my Instagram after the NFL draft, because I had never seen this. And this, to me, is what people mean when they say representation mattered. I have never seen a black head coach and a black GM on the screen at any time when it comes to the NFL. This was a huge moment in time for me, so I thought that this was dope, and I could understand why Deshaun Watson would want to align himself with Miami. I get that. I try to do that when I'm researching a company. I try to make sure that they align with my visions. But what we're not going to do, okay, as much as I would love to see Deshaun get out of Houston, and potentially I think Miami would be a great landing spot for him, but what we're not going to do is to continue to potentially damage the confidence of our Samoan brother, Tua. We're not going to do that. We've already seen Miami give him the starting job and then take it away. We're not going to do that to him, because he's in a position where he can succeed now if you believe in him, if you put the right people behind him, if you train him properly, he can succeed. We know he has the talent. So I do not think, look, as much as I think Deshaun should get out of Houston, I don't want to see Tua have to be the one who goes to Houston, where we've already figured out Houston, everything that's going on in their executive and their front offices, that ain't working. We're not trying to put Tua in that situation. And to my knowledge, that's probably not going to happen, because Miami has not reached out to Houston for this, and I hope that they don't. Again, not because I don't want Deshaun Watson to get free, but because I just don't think that you sabotage one brother for the betterment of another. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to try to do that. And Miami's GM has and the head coach have doubled down, and they both say that Tua is their team starter. And I want him to excel in that situation. So I don't have a lot to say outside of that, except for to say, yes, Deshaun, get out of Houston. I would not do any talking. I know he hasn't even spoken to the head coach or anyone in Houston, and you should not. You should let your agent do all the talking. Don't let them trying to talk you into backing out of the things that they've already done. They already sabotaged you by taking away your main receiver, and then they didn't give you the voice that they said that they were going to give you. So now you just let your agent talk, but don't try to sabotage another brother. Do it. And that's all I got to say about that. So let's get Devin up here really quickly and get to this time, because it's time for the Monday edition of Brit's Take.
Brit's Takes.
Oh,
you're muted.
Oh, good?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to get into Brit's Take real quick. People are trying to get me again. It's the people. It's the FBI agent that's in here talking all that mess. Don't even know what he's talking about. He just tried to clown and say that they're 99% of the NBA is black. So what are you talking about? No representation, Jackie. But Jackie was talking about the NFL, clown. So
yeah, that's
first of all, she was talking about sport.
Google
But anyways,
friend.
right. We are going to stay with the NFL here. We are going to keep talking about the NFL because that's what Jackie was talking about. She wasn't talking about the NBA. She was talking about the NFL. And we're going to talk about her team. We're talking about the Saints game. Saints and Bears played the afternoon game yesterday. If you are in California, it's like the 1 o'clock afternoon game. If you're on the West Coast, it's technically an evening game for you guys, I guess. I don't know. But we're talking about this game. And Saints had a great game. 21-9 was the final score. This was the Saints game where they had the fewest points allowed in a playoff game in team history. So their defense came to play. Like she said, we saw Can't Guard Mike back in the game, made his first big catch or whatever. So that was awesome. But I don't know where you guys watched the game, but the game was also, for the first time ever in NFL history, televised on Nickelodeon. So they had a kids version of it. They had two people that worked for Nickelodeon working. So when people got touchdowns, they got slimed. You see this moment right here of the slime. It was so cool, fun, whatever, I guess. But it's kind of weird, okay? And I'm going to tell you why it's weird in a second, and so many reasons. So we know Nate Burleson. I've worked with him on a couple projects back in the day. I had my first test shoot with NFL Network with Nate. I'm a good friend, or we're good friends or whatever. So I was excited to see him hosting this. He did a video prior on his social media talking about how, just 7 years ago, he was playing with the Detroit Lions against the Saints. And now he was broadcasting as one of the broadcasters at a game just 7 years later after he had last played the Saints in his NFL career. So he, was talking about how special that moment was and how special it was to be a part of Nickelodeon doing that because, he said he was like, I'm an 80s baby, but I was raised in the 90s and, Nickelodeon was my jam. I grew up watching Nickelodeon. So to not only have my first broadcasting game, because, he usually does just the analyst side of it, and then he hosts Good Morning Football, but to be as a broadcaster in the booth at an NFL game, just 7 years, retired from, the NFL, and to have that moment, it was amazing for him. So he did a great job. You'll actually hear him a second in this clip that I'm about to show you guys, but this is why we can never see the NFL on Nickelodeon again. It just can't work. I know you guys want it to work, but this was supposed to be a broadcast for little kids, which is why we had the slime. But listen to what these kids had to listen to during the game.
All right. Let's there was the problem.
He was the one that came in after, and he's like, all right, let's play it one more time. You guys, we have to listen to this one more time because it's hilarious.
All right. Let's so there's the problem.
And how do you address it in that moment? Because Nate's like, he knows there's little kids that are watching this. He has like 3 kids, and his kids are watching this as well. And one of the players says, what the F, but actually says the word. It's heard clear as day in this moment, and this happened on Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon, this is your first NFL game that you guys broadcasted, but what you need to do and what all of the other companies learned to do beforehand is you kind of got to play the game and have it live, but have it seconds later. So when situations like this happen, you can bleep that out and mute him before it actually makes it to TV. So you guys probably should have a 10-second delay just in case. Have a 10-second delay on the game next time you guys want to broadcast it, because this is the NFL. These players don't care that it's on Nickelodeon. They don't even really, probably half of them didn't even know it was on Nickelodeon. It was a cool moment after the game. Sean Payton, instead of, getting the Gatorade shower, he got slimed, it's cute. It's all for Nickelodeon. It was cool, whatever. But I don't know if we could do this again, Nickelodeon, because of that moment right there. You guys, do you think Nickelodeon should maybe just keep their hands off the NFL and NBA? Because I feel like we will see more moments like this if it does happen.
You go
That's
first,
one for
Jackie.
me because I'm on TikTok now. I don't actually participate in TikTok, but I'm on it, and I see kids doing their whole TikTok they be like 7 and up cussing, and I, not on the show, but I have a mouth like a sailor, and they keep right up. So I don't know that then. It's not nothing they ain't already either saying or have heard, but it was still funny because I can imagine me as a parent just being like, oh, looking for the remote.
I can imagine a kid up at the screen copying, yeah, Mom, what the F? Like,
I feel like it was a solid effort. I think it felt nostalgic for a lot of us to go on, like turn on the TV and flip to Nickelodeon. Like that was kind of funny, and I liked the way that they were explaining everything. Like for an 8-year-old, I don't know. I thought it was amusing, but yeah, they do need to fix these little issues that can happen because, yeah, it's not very Nickelodeon friendly.
Leo, before we get out of here, one more time for the people in the back. Please, Leo.
Right. With the 8-year-old.
All right. Let's,
All right.
The name saying the all right is like the best part of it to me. It's like, all right.
I'm like, okay, should I keep going? What should we do?
So good. So funny.
Great.
It's perfect. Good luck, Nickelodeon.
All right.
Let's wrap up the show. Okay, guys, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Give this video a thumbs up if you had fun today, which, come on, you did. Don't lie. Even FBI agent had fun today, so give us that thumbs up. You know you want to. Leave a comment below. Share this video with your friends, and tune in again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll see you guys later. Wash your hands. Wear a mask. Bye, everybody.
FBI agent, go back to Quantico. You clearly